Hey everyone. So now it is time for us to move on and actually start doing some physics work. And before we do that, we need to look at the metric system to make sure we are still familiar with that. Um, when you were in sixth grade, I believe you learned this, but no surprise, we didn't use it for 3 years. And now it's probably in the back of our mind, really far away. So we are going to review this. Hopefully, it sticks with you. I'm going to have you guys work with me on the top page, and then the second page is one where I want you to actually do the work on your own. So, um, first thing I want to say is this phrase is extremely important. I still use it to this day to remember the steps of the metric system. And the phrase is King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Now, you might have learned a different phrase, maybe something a little less deathy. I don't know. But this one works well for me. This is one that I learned when I was in elementary school and it's stuck in my head. So, King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So we look at the first letter for each of those words, and that tells us what the prefix um, we are going to use will be. So K is for kilo, H is for hecto, the first D is for deca, bi is our base unit, D for drinking is deci, and then C is centi, and M is milli. Um, when we look at the space unit, what we're talking about is the metric system uses three main units. If we are talking distance, it's going to be meters. Um, if we're talking volume, it's going to be liters. And if we're talking weight, it is going to be grams. So let's say we have a measurement that is in meters. This would be a kilometer, a hectometer, a decameter, a decimeter, a centimeter, or a millimeter. It could also be a kiloliter, a hectoliter, a decaliter, a deciliter, a centiliter, or a milliliter. So as you can see, these three here, your bases, can apply to any of the prefixes. So you can put the prefixes in front of any of these three bases, um, and they are going to work for you. So if we're moving to the right, let's say we start with a unit, a meter. Let's say I give you 1 meter and I want you to tell me how many centimeters are in a meter. We are going to start at this 1 meter spot. So it does not have a prefix, it's just meter. So we start here, and then we're going to go bump one over and then bump two over. So I would need to take so let's say I start with 1 meter. I would need to take my decimal point and I'm going to move it over 2 spaces. So if I don't see my decimal point, I know it's directly after the first number. And then I've got to add 2 zeros in there. And those zeros are just kind of placeholders so that I can move the decimal point. So there's my 1 meter, and I need to bump 1, 2 over. So I'm going to move this decimal point 1 space and then 2 space, and it's going to go there. And I have now changed. So what am I doing? I have now changed from meters centimeters. So you can see the amount of steps you take over is how many times you move the decimal point. If I'm moving to the right, I move my decimal point to the right. If I would move this way to the left, I'm going to move my decimal point to the left. So in the example I just gave you, 1 meter, and we know it equals 100 centimeters, you know I moved 2 jumps, 1, 2 to the right. Down here, you see, if we move to the right, we multiply by 10 for each jump. So I would take 1 times 10 for my first jump, that's 10, and then times 10 again for my second jump. 10 times 10 equals 100. So you could do it that way as well. I just think writing these down and actually showing the jumps that are made is an easier way to remember this. Now, another way to remember it, and it goes along with the tens rule. If you bump 2, what has 2 zeros? 100. So it would be, you would increase it by 100. If you bump 3, what has 3 zeros? Well, that's 1,000. So you would increase whatever number it is by 1,000. Same thing, except opposite for left. If you move left, you're going to divide by 10 for each jump that you make. So if you move by 3 jumps, let's say you start here at grams and bump over 3, you are going to essentially divide by 1,000, or move the decimal point to the left 3 spaces. Same thing. All right, so let's work on some of these questions here. We need to convert 1,000 milligrams to grams. So I am going from milligrams to grams. So so I'm using the grams here this time. Okay, so I'm going to go milligrams, which is right here, back to grams. Now, grams without a prefix is this base unit. So we need to figure out how many jumps it takes to get from here over to here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 jumps backwards. So my decimal point, which is here, is going to move 1, 2, 3 jumps to the left, and therefore my answer is going to be 1 gram. Let's look at 1 liter. 1 liter equals how many milliliters? Well, I don't have a prefix here, so I know that is the one that's at the base. And how many milliliters is that? Well, let's go over 1, 2, 3 jumps. So put my decimal point, throw some zeros in there. I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3 jumps. So my decimal point is going to move over 3, and that gives me the number of 1,000. Okay, next one we have is 160 centimeters equals how many millimeters? So let's look. We're going from centimeters to millimeters. So we need to start at centimeters and see which way we would go to get to millimeters. So everything's in meters right now. We're starting at centi, and we want to go over to milli. So we need to move to the right just 1 space. So our decimal point, which is here, is going to move to the right just 1 space. So we're going to take it from here, and we are going to put it right there. And therefore, we are going to end up with 1,600 millimeters. Hopefully, this is making sense. Make sure the biggest problem people have is they're going in the wrong direction. So make sure you always move it in the right direction. And all you have to do is look at what you start with and what you end with. Are you going to the right, or are you going to the left? And then you move your decimal point the same exact direction. Now we have comparisons to do down here at the bottom. And the best thing to do when you compare is to convert them all to the same unit. So here we have centimeters versus meters. Okay, so it's hard for us to compare those without them being in the same unit. But if we made them both centimeters, or we made them both meters, it would be really easy because you would just see which number is bigger. So let's go ahead and convert. Let's convert to meters here. So we're going to change this 56 centimeters into meters. So we're going from centimeters to meters. If I look up at the top, centimeters back to my base of meters is going to be left 1, 2 places. So my decimal point, which started out right there, I'm going to move it 1, 2 places to the left, and I end up getting 0.56 meters. Now, if I look 0.56 meters and 6 meters. It's a zero point 0.5. Which is bigger? Obviously, you have 6 holes here. Here you don't have any holes. You just have a little over a half of a meter. But here you have 6 meter sticks long. So obviously, a 6 is bigger than 0.56. So in this spot, you are going to make the alligator mouth eat the bigger number. All right, I want you to finish this worksheet. So there's 3 up there, 1 comparison here, and then about 21 on the second sheet. I want you to finish that. Do your best. If you forget how to do something or you need help, please reach out to me and I will do my best to help you. Have a great day.